Today, I'm going to show you guys how you can grow a big garden for yourself with the Bloomlord and Hydramon deck. Just before we get started with the video, I got something really cool to share with all you guys. If you haven't watched our newest Battle of Series, then be sure to check that out as well. In our latest Battle of Cross Encounter episode, we spiced things up, where Sam and I actually partnered with each other for a tag team battle against our friends this time. This gave us a chance to showcase you guys a larger variety of decks in action, so be sure to check it out after this video too. Links will be included on the top right iCard and in the description box down below, so I'll see you guys there. Hello Digimon players and fans, welcome back to another brand new Digimon Deck Profile and in-depth building guide video. Bloomlordmon is without a doubt one of the most talked about decks coming into the EX3 format. Bloomlordmon was first introduced in BT10, and the deck was actually just around average at first. But everything changed since Hydramon came out because it is now one of the strongest decks that people are anticipating. Bloomlordmon itself has a lot of aggression with the ability to gain additional security checks and DP, but also recur memory from paying its Digivolution cost. And as for Hydramon, it is very similar because it can also do the same by gaining memory. However, different to Bloomlordmon, it can actually do it during both players' turn. And that is not all to it, because Hydramon can also even send your opponent's Digimon to the bottom of their deck as long as they're suspended for defensive plays. I would say that the combination of both these cards give you the perfect sword and shield. Furthermore, the deck is exceptionally good at going wide and swarming the board in one single turn. However, it's known to be a fairly difficult deck to play and is not very beginner friendly, and it does require more time and practice for you to do well. And that is why, like always, I got a combo segment after the deck profile to teach you guys how to play the deck on a basic level, so you definitely want to stick around for that. And if you guys enjoy deck profile videos and guides like these, then be sure to give this video a like. Also, if you haven't done so yet, subscribe to the channel if you guys want to see more of these videos as well. But with that out of the way, let's show you guys what we got for the build. Alright, let's begin with our Digi Eggs. We got the 4 copies of Argomon. When you unsuspend during the unsuspend phase during your turn, you get to gain a memory, and that happens a lot in this deck, and it's just really great. Gaining that extra memory means that there's more plays, more cards that you can put out with it, and yeah, that's the 4 eggs all I really run. I don't really feel like I need a 5th egg, but however, I do know some of you guys, if you do want to run a 5th egg, a Gummymon is not bad as well. Just to give yourself a little bit of extra draw power with green is not a bad idea, but I just personally like the consistency of gaining the memory mostly, and I don't feel like I ever need to get to the 5th egg with this deck anyways, so that totally works for me. So now let's go into our rookies. First and foremost here, we got the 4 copies of the brand new Palmon from BT10. On play, it searches and it reviews the top 4 cards of your deck, letting you add a vegetation or plant or fairy and its traits among them to your hand, which is very good. This is your sole and only very important searcher of the deck, which is exactly why you need to maximize at 4 copies of no matter what. Then we have a brand new addition in EX3 where we have a new Pomomon. Pomomon is that when an effect suspends this Digimon, you get to suspend one of your opponent's Digimon. So giving you a little bit of control aspect, you suspend a lot of your own Digimon in this deck, so then you can get a lot of value by suspending your opponents as well to stop things and swing over things and combo again later on, which is very nice. Then we still have another Pomomon. We have the BT9 Pomomon, and this one specifically is a floodgate which stops both players from playing Digimon by effects. However, we all know that Bloomlordmon does play a lot of Digimon with effects, which may be sort of like a counterintuitive card to include. However, it is still really important to have this because it can help you in many different matchups. One of them being the mirror matches or any other decks that basically play Digimon with effects, such as Jesmon, for example, as well. And there's a really interesting way where you should be playing this card at the right time, at the right moment, sort of like ending your turn so that you can stop your opponents from being able to pop off on their next turn. So you just want to be very careful when you do play this, and you would never ever play this before you go for your combos. So keep in mind that is exactly the reason why you do want to be careful when you're playing this card. Then we have Hydramon, which is a floodgate for memory blocking, just generically very good. The only downside of this card is that it is not a plant, vegetation, or fairy, but you definitely want to counter against some matchups which gain a lot of memory, and it definitely helps. That's it for our rookies. Let's talk about our level 4s. We have Sunflowmon right here from BT10. Sunflowmon, when digivolving, by suspending one of your green Digimon, you can basically play another Digimon with Vegetation, Plant, or Fairy from your hand for free with 3000 DP or less, which is very good and provides a very nice inheritable that lets you draw one card as long as your turn once per turn. When an effect suspends one of your own Digimon, you get to do that. And yeah, this is also a very core important piece to the combos, and this is the main level 4 that you want to be seeing because it gives you so much value and it lets you partially swarm the board. Next, we have 4 copies of the BT5 Weedmon. Weedmon is just very simple because it is a 1 cost to digivolve, which is very, very memory efficient, but also with its 3000 DP being a vegetation for the deck. It also has Digiburst, which is not super important, but it does come in handy when we play a certain card, which we will talk about just in a bit as well. And then we have 4 copies of Red Vegemon, exact same concept as the Weedmon. Instead, this one is just a vanilla, but also just a 3000 DP vegetation. 1 cost to digivolve the level 4 is that definitely what you want to max out on. So it's very simple for the level 4s. Okay, so now let's talk about our level 5s. We got 4 copies of Hydramon. Hydramon is actually your main combo bridger of your level 5. So that's why you want to maximize 4 copies of, because main once per turn by suspending one of your green Digimon, including itself, you can play 1 Digimon card with Vegetation, Plant, or Fairy from your traits from your hand with 3000 DP or less. Essentially the same effect as Sunflowmon, but you can just do it once per turn ongoingly with this card instead. And it provides an inheritable of when you suspend one of your Digimon once per turn with its effect, you get to gain a memory back as well. And again, super crucial with the combo, and Hydramon is always your go-to level 5s in this deck, 100%. You always want to be seeing it as much as you can so you can go and start swarming with your plays once again to go into your top end later on, which again, I'll showcase you guys why he is so important in the combo segment. We got 3 copies of Hydramon. First of all, he can Digizorb 2. We all know what Digisorption does now. We can basically suspend one of our own Digimon to reduce the Digivolution cost, which is very handy. So you can effectively Digivolve this guy for 1. Now, opponent's turn, once per turn, when opponent's Digimon attacks, you may switch the attack target to one of your suspended Digimon instead. So giving you sort of like a pseudo blocker capability, which is very, very nice. And also giving you a bit of like attacking protection, which again is also very, very good. And there's many scenarios that your opponent will have to try to play around it, and they're going to have to think twice before they attack into you, because you usually will want to have your big boss Digimon on the board alongside with this guy as well, but to stop either early swings or stopping them from attacking over it even. So yeah, Hydramon is just that good as well. Then we have the good old Blossomon Digisorption 3, so we basically effectively Digivolve this for free as a level 5. Just a super good card to have still, and yeah, really, really good. And then we have 1 Argomon, effectively doing the exact same thing as Blossomon does, but it gives us an extra effect with the inheritable of when attacking, we may play 1 level 3 green Digimon card from our hand suspended without paying any memory cost. So Argomon is still just really, really good, but keep in mind, it is not a plant, vegetation, or fairy, so again, 1 copy is totally fine, despite it being limited to 1 as well. And then last but not least, for the level 5s, I do want to round off with 1 copy of Chimeramon. Chimeramon is actually really good because we do tend to hard play a lot of our level 4s via different effects, and they're usually going to be suspended with alongside with our other combo Digisorption and Digivolving and suspending effects anyways. And then we can actually also have Summoning Sickness, and by having Chimeramon, you can DNA and then you can make a cheeky swing, extra swing as well, or even bridge into another level 6 if you need to. Add the inheritable you want from your trash, which basically gives you a lot of versatility when you're playing this deck, and that's exactly why I do definitely want as a one-off tech in this deck and helps out a lot. That's it for all the level 5s. Let's talk about our level 6s, and there's a lot to showcase for this one and lots to talk about. First and foremost, we have our 4 copies of Bloomlordmon. Bloomlordmon is our main ace boss Digimon because this guy can do extra security checks, gets extra DP, gains you memory, and retains your turn. And this is the whole idea of getting into him in this deck so you can combo off and just do a whole lot of crazy stuff with him. Like I mentioned, so when Digivolving, you can suspend one of your own Digimon, then you gain 1 memory for each Digimon that is suspended, including itself. And if you gain more than 2 with this effect, you get to unsuspend this guy. So it's very, very good, very memory efficient, despite being its 4 cost to Digivolve. Also, you get piercing for the turn. Also, your turn, which is a continuous thing where that for every 2 Digimon that is suspended you have in play, including itself as well, it gets extra 2000 DP and security +1. And you guys know me, once again, I love security +1 effects, and being able to combo off and give him so many checks and so much powerful DP is really, really good. And for the aggression, he is basically your beat down boss Digimon. You use him to beat down your opponent's stuff, pierce for the checks, and yeah, he's basically your offensive card, essentially. Speaking of offensive, you do need a bit of defensive. We got 3 copies of Hydramon right here. Hydramon is a brand new addition from EX03, which makes this deck even better than what it is, or what it was back from BT10. Bloomlord is basically like your spear. Hydramon, on the other hand, is like your shield, because this one is like a floodgate defensive card. It is 5 to Digivolve. However, very similar to Bloomlord, you can suspend one of your opponent's Digimon when you Digivolve, and also all turns once per turn when an opponent's Digimon becomes suspended, whether by effect or by attacking or whatever. For each of your other suspended Digimon with Vegetation, Plant, or Fairy, you gain a memory back. Now, in your turn, you can very easily manipulate the memory gauge when you Digivolve into this guy, and then you can really just sort of like kind of combo with your Bloomlord plays, which is always very good. And then during your opponent's turn, it is a very good defensive card simply because it's like an ice wall on legs and with once per turn effect, because as soon as they swing with a Digimon, or if you're able to suspend one of their Digimon, you can gain so much memory since you have such a wide board with lots of suspended Vegetation and Plant and Fairies, and sort of that's what the combo is all about. But that's not all, guys. This card has a 3rd effect, which is even more insane. End of your turn, once per turn, if you have 2 or more suspended Digimon with Vegetation, Plant, or Fairy in their traits, which does include this card, by the way, for this particular effect, you get to send one of your opponent's suspended Digimon back to the bottom of their deck. Bottom decking is one of the best removals in my opinion in this game, simply because it just takes out that Digimon completely, and there's almost no way that your opponent can cycle back and grab that card, and it will take a while for them to get back into it anyways. So Hydramon, there he is, super good card, super powerful, fantastic addition to the deck whatsoever, and yeah, 3 of is really all you need. And that is because I like to round off with one last tech where we have the good old Hydramon right here. I really like this card as a tech because, again, it's very good at punishing wide boards, very good in a mirror match, and because we do play Weedmon with Digiburst, this does come in handy, so then we can be effectively Digivolving for less cost or gaining a memory back. If any of you guys are new to the game and never experienced Hydramon, then what he does is basically you suspend all your opponent's Digimon that's 5000 DP or less, and then you bottom deck everything that is suspended afterwards. In the old formats, you can clear and wipe entire board with this card alone, which is extremely good. Now, it does require you to Digiburst 4, so you do have to pay like 4 Digimon in order to sort of get this effect going. But anyways, one of is a perfect tech in this deck. That's it for all of our Digimon. Let's talk about Tamers. I have 2 copies of Mimi, and that's really all you need. Mimi is just great for memory tamer. Having a memory tamer and not getting choked out is just super crucial, and I just definitely really like her having as a 2 of. We don't really need to sort of like suspend her and then try to hatch continuously as much. So that's why working with 2 copies is totally fine in this deck, since we gain so much memory with other effects anyways. Then we have 3 green memory boosts. Green memory boost is just great for searching, just like another additional rookie, gaining you more extra memory when you get to make even more of your plays. Just, yeah, memory boost cards are just always fantastic. And then, of course, since this is a green deck, you have to play HBD. HBD just gives you so much value. With more suspension combos, you can Digivolve stuff for free, which is even better. So, yeah, definitely play at least this card too. And then last but not least, for the final option, as a tech, I have Samada Santi. Very, very good effect as well. Very similar to the Pomomon. You get to suspend one of your own Digimon, and you can suspend one of your opponent's Digimon, giving you that sort of like tech control, which is very, very nice. And with its security effect, it can come in clutch as a defensive capability mechanism for you to suspend one of your opponent's Digimon or Tamers as well. But keep in mind, with Samada Santi, they also don't get to unsuspend until the end of their next turn. So that's really good with its main effect, but it doesn't apply for the security. But once again, one of tech, very, very good. Okay, so that would be the 50 card main deck right there talked about. Let's talk about a few other cards that you can actually consider adding into this deck. And there's really not a whole lot to talk about, but first and foremost, I do see some players play the Mushroomon simply because you guys might think that my deck has very little low on rookie count and you guys don't like it as much. So you can definitely add Mushroomons and replace it with other cards instead to see more rookies in there for yourself. And simply because he is a vegetation that's 3000 DP, but also just a very, extra good rookie just in case, which I don't play of. Then for more removal, we got Grandel Soul and Ground Fang. Now it's very subjective on what you guys prefer. I personally prefer Grandel Soul, and that is because when you would use this card, if you have 2 or more suspended green Digimon in play, you get to reduce the cost by 2, making it 6, and then you suspend one of your opponent's Digimon, and then return one of your opponent's suspended Digimon to the bottom of an owner's deck. Once again, very nice. I love bottom decking cards, so I think Grandel Soul is really nice. Security activates the main effect. Otherwise, you have Ground Fang, which is very, very similar, but you don't get to reduce its cost though, because you get to return one of your opponent's suspended Digimon and one of their suspended Tamers to the bottom of their owner's deck. So again, I think it just really depends on the meta and sort of like the local matchup and the tournament matchups that you guys are expected to face against. And both these removal cards are very clearly substitutes for Samada Santi instead if you guys don't like to play Samada Santi. Okay, so now that we covered all the cards that we want to talk about, let's show you guys the combos. Now, keep in mind, guys, Bloomlord and Hydramon is a very heavy combo deck, and it does take a lot of skill and practice to sort of hone it and in order to do well. There's a lot of thinking required, and you have to be really good at thinking and knowing your matchups while doing so at the same time. However, I'm going to introduce some basic core combos on how you want to play around. So let's show you guys what I mean. Of course, hatching your Digi-Egg. And in the early stages of the game, ideally if you do have your Palmons and green memory boosts, you just want to be playing them as much as you can to find your pieces as important. Green doesn't have a whole lot of search power, which is why once you see these guys, you do want to be playing them. You rarely ever, never want to be digivolving your Palmon on top of your egg because you just want to save it for searching. So whatever level 3 you have on hand, it will be anything that you have to just digivolve on top of. So let's first talk about like the Sunflowmon combo. So let's just say your opponent puts you to 1 or whatever it is. Once you move up with your Palmomon, you can digivolve into Sunflowmon. Now make sure that you identify if you have your key pieces in your hand, because if you don't have anything to play via Sunflowmon, then there really isn't too much of a point to push it out. Might as well just digivolve in raising. But if you do have something to play, then you can probably just start going wide with it. You pay the 2 memory, and then you can suspend Sunflowmon or your Palmon if you have something else on board, whatever you like, and then you can just play a level 4 from there. Now, if you have more memory to work with, let's just say you're at 1 or whatever, then this is then when you can consider going into your 5. Now, once again, like I mentioned, green doesn't have a whole lot of search power and draw power inherently. But keep in mind that the draw power it actually gets, it's from digivolving. It can actually digivolve lots in one turn, so then you can get a lot of memory out of it. And you guys can see here a very good example. So let's just say I have a Blossomon right here, right? I can suspend my own Palmon to Digizorb into Blossomon to draw 1 card. And then now, if I have another level 5, I can Digizorb the Weedmon by suspending itself to pay 1 memory to go into Cherrymon, and I draw 1 card. And then now I get to use my Sunflowmon's inheritable right here to draw another card. So this is how you want to be cycling your cards with this deck in particular. And then once you're cycling and you keep on going and you eventually want to see your Bloomlordmon as soon as possible, so you'll pay the 4 memory so you can digivolve it into Bloomlordmon. Now, I know that you don't really get to suspend something else here, which is kind of unfortunate, but that's okay. If you don't have the extra body, that's totally fine, but you get to gain your memory back because Bloomlord and these other 2 Digimon are suspended. You get to gain like 3 memory back, and then you get to unsuspend your Bloomlord as well. And this combo and this style and this method for the first one I'm showing you guys is a little bit risky because your opponent can very easily clap back. So once again, know your matchups. Know if your opponent can clap back at you or not. Because if they can't, then you're getting a lot of value just by doing this. If they can, then you might want to be a little bit more passive and safer for this first part combo. Okay, so the other main combo I want to show you guys is that you want to be seeing your Agitarmon and be playing with your Agitarmon. So let's just say in a scenario like, your Sunflowmon is in the raising instead. You don't really want to push out that early on. You want to wait. So you want to be digivolving your Agitarmon in your raising as well, and then passing the turn to your opponent. This is the best case scenario because you pay your Digivolution cost, and since its effect is a main once per turn anyways, you can move it up next turn and then use its effect. Because otherwise, let's just say if you do have 3 memory, you hard push it out right here, and then you Digivolve for 3, and then you go for the combos, then you have less memory to work with for the rest of the turn. Which is why I really like actually Digivolving it in the raising instead. So once again, your opponent passes you to 1, you're ready to move out with your Hydramon. Now, once again, keep in mind, make sure you have your pieces. Ideally, once again, if you have 5s and 4s, then you can Digizorb and sort of continue to get going, then that's definitely the way to go. If not, then you might even want to play your Palmons with Hydramon's effect. So with Hydramon's effect, depending on the situation, sometimes you might have like a green rookie sitting on there from earlier on, like a Palmon or whatnot. Then you get to really heavily continue your combos very differently, because that means you can actually suspend your Palmon instead, very similar to the last combo, and then play like your Weedmon out. And then because you did suspend something, you get to draw a card with Sunflowmon. And then now, next, what we want to do again is basically look at what we have here. If we have some level 5s that we can Digizorb into, we can suspend Weedmon to Digizorb into Blossommon, cycle another card, and keep on going. And then let's just say, oh, we might have another level 4 in our hand that we can utilize. Then we can pop the memory boost even to gain the extra 3 memory. And then we can even Digivolve into Red Vegiemon here for 1. And then, we have a Cherrymon, so we can actually Digizorb it if we want to as well. Ideally, you do, so you only pay 1 here. And then you can continue with your combos once again. And now you have like 3 different level 5s. And then, of course, you want to see your Bloomlord, pay the 4, Digivolve into Bloomlord here. And then, because you have 3 suspended, you gain 3 memory back. And because you gain 2, Bloomlord unsuspends. And then also because Bloomlord's effect sometimes get to suspend one of your Digimon as well, if you have another body here on the board that lets you suspend it, then you get to gain another memory back with Hydramon, which is also very nice. So the wider you go, the more value it is, and that's how you want to be approaching. But now let's go and showcase the combos right here when it comes to attacking. So Bloomlord's going to swing in. So Bloomlord, you swing in with it, and then you have checking continuously how many Digimon are on the board. There's 4, that means he gains extra 2,000, 2 times, 16k, and then piercing with 2 checks, and then you get to go around like that. Other really cool stuff is having the Pomomons here. During any of the process that you have the Pomomon, you can suspend your Pomomon with those Digizorbs effects or whatnot, so then your Pomomon can suspend one of your opponent's Digimon. So before, when you get into your Bloomlord can even swing into that Digimon that your opponent suspended with lots of DP, and then security checks and piercing as well, giving you sort of like a removal at the same time, which is always very nice. Now, once you have such a wide board established, how you want to be ending it with your defensive capabilities is then you have 2 choices. If you have such a wide board, you can actually go even more aggressive with another Bloomlord if you do, right? You pay for 4 memory, and then you go into your second Bloomlord right here. Afterwards, Bloomlord will gain 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 memory back, so you get to 1, and then he'll unsuspend, and then you can swing again and continue the combo right there. And then if you're done and you want to finally end it off, you can end it off with the Hydramon, paying the 5 memory to go on top right here. You get to suspend one of your opponent's Digimon, and if they do, you get to gain the memory back for every other, so you get to gain 4 memory back even, and you can continue your turn here as well and continue playing however you want, which is very, very nice. So very, very flexible, very cool combos, different combos you can be doing. Very important to keep in mind on different cards you have, cards your opponents have when you're playing this deck. And once again, guys, these are just very few of the basic combos of how you want to be playing this deck, but there's actually even more combos. And that is why I would highly recommend you guys to play this deck as much as you can to learn all the different flexible combos that you can be performing with this deck. And that is because this deck doesn't have a linear strategy, unlike many other most decks in the current format. That will conclude for my very own deck building strategy and in-depth guide for the Bloomlordmon and Hydramon Deck Profile. If you guys enjoyed the video and found it helpful, please give it a like. If you have any suggestions, recommendations, or questions, be sure to share it with everyone in the comments down below. Overall, Bloomlordmon is a super strong deck when it pops off, and it's very good at consistently doing so. There's so many flexible plays that you can make with this deck, so you definitely need to be on top of it when it comes to executing those combos. Once again, like I mentioned from before, practicing as much as you can with this deck is the key to doing well with it. That will wrap up for the video for today. If you guys want to see more EX3 deck profiles, then be sure to subscribe and turn on that notification bell right now to stay tuned. As always, thank you so much for watching. You guys have a great day, great night, wherever you are. See you next video. It is Avault, signing out.